Hey everyone, here's a little training video on how to import different types of elements from other Brightspace courses and put them into the current Brightspace course you're working on. So I just want to give you a little example of what I'm working on here. So I am one of the lucky ones to have the same course offered to 3 different groups. So the job here is to keep the content consistent. So I've broken down my course into its different components, but for instance, right now I've been working on Lab 5. And Lab 5 has some thicker details and some resources, some things that I want to share with all 3 classes. So what I've done is I've spent some time in my first one, so I had to keep track of which one is my first. So it's for me it's serving fundamentals. It's a 1327 course. I'm going to kind of keep that in mind when I go to import and copy one element to the other. So I know I've fixed all my content here, and now I want to prepare for migrating that over to another course. So I want them to be the same. Alright, so what I'm going to do is now that 3027 is ready, I'm going to switch into one of my other courses. So one of my other courses is 29, and as far as I can tell, I don't think that one is ready. As you can see here in my list, Lab 5 is missing. What I've essentially done here first, before this, and I didn't show this step, is I went into my existing course as need some upgrading or need to be in sync with another course, and I've gone down to that element and I've deleted the module. Now be careful with the delete module that you don't delete more than you actually want to. So I had to make sure I picked Lab 5. It's gone now, but I essentially picked Lab 5 and said delete module, and it took a second. It'll take a few minutes. Sometimes your table of contents here won't update right away, so often a page refresh, or just kind of give it a 30-second to a minute or so for it to refresh, and then it should be okay. Sometimes if you do this too quickly, what will happen is it'll give you an error on the page. You'll look like you've lost everything, but it's just because the page is out of sync, and the cache in your particular browser is having some difficulties finding content that's no longer available. So what I want to do is I want to go, now that I've gutted out what I don't want or I want to update, I'm going to use the edit course, and I'm going to use the import function to grab what I want from my 27. So I'm in course 29. I'm going to go under search for components, search for offerings. So I'm going to look for keyword survey. So this is kind of how our course has been set up. They've used the actual course name, the long name, to refer to it. Now I know it's 1327. I'll just double check. So that's how I want to bring it from. So I want to select that course and see what's in it. So I'm going to say not everything. I don't want everything. I want to select which component. So I'm going to have to scroll down here to see this. So there we are. Sorry. So select components on the bottom here. So I'm going to select components, and it's going to ask me what other components I'd like to have. Now it gives you the master list. Some may be empty. I have in my content, I have a number of items. I want to select which ones, in this particular case, one element, one folder to copy. I also have a Dropbox already set up in my other course, so I want to select which one to copy, not all of them. Be careful, because that can overwrite some grades and whatnot. I also have a group, so this particular exercise has a Dropbox submission page which is done by groups, so I also want to copy the groups to go with it. So a number of things. Of course you can do one at a time. I found this very handy to build it in one course, set it all up, assign the dates, and then go through this process to copy it to the other 2. So I'm going to continue. So it says, alright, what do you want to copy? Which groups? My Lab 5 group. So I got 9 groups in there. That's a preset, all the settings. Okay, that's good. Now I want to go to the Dropbox folder. I don't want to bring in all the Dropbox, just the Lab 5 when I set up. So it's for some profile line work we're doing. And what content? I don't want to overwrite all my content. So I'm just going to go in my course content folder where I had Lab 5 and just my Lab 5. So in my kind of template course, if you will. That's where I was working on all this stuff. Now that's ready, I have confirm. I just double check. It looks good. I'm going to let it go ahead and finish. Depending on the amount of content you're copying, it can take several minutes, maybe longer. For the most part, most of my content copying seems to take anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple of minutes. This one shouldn't take much longer, and it's already done. Alright, so it's copied. So you can see I've actually done quite a bit of copying. I'm going to go back to my content, and you'll notice that what it does is it appends it to the bottom. So under a bunch of my particular items, you'll see I have course content, but because my course content came from a course content. Now I don't know if this is a flaw with how it works, but anyway, this is find out what you have to do. So I have, you can see your course content fieldwork lab 5. It's basically set up exactly the same as my course content up here, which has 32 elements in it. This only has 5. So I want to copy this and put it back into where I want it organized. So in order to do that, I'm just going to select it. You'll notice it's up on the right hand side now, and I'm going to say move to. So that was going to allow me to move it to a new folder. So I'm going to pick where I want to put it back. I want to put it back in my fieldwork component. That's where the rest of my labs is. Notice that number 5 is missing. So I want to put it back in my fieldwork component. I'll say move. It might take a second for it to move. You'll notice it'll take me there. Now it's the course content, so there's where my existing labs are. I'll put it in the order where I want it to for the students to see it. So below 4, before 6. There it is. Now it's been updated. Alright, I still have one thing left to do though, and that's to kind of go to the bottom and get rid of my other course content. This one now has nothing in, it's empty. Notice there's nothing here. So I'll be very careful on which one I want to delete. Delete the module. Okay, get rid of that. So this is the same delete module I would have used originally to get rid of Unit 5. I would suggest get rid of the resource folder you want to update. Get rid of the entire element. Go to your source, your template. Now this may take a minute once again to update. I'm going to just use the F5 function to see if I can do an update on this page. Might even just switch to another course for a second, maybe back to 27. So I'll kind of give it a couple of seconds, and hopefully it'll update that table of contents page. So here I am, back to my, yeah, it's gone. My second course content link is gone. Course content, fieldwork. Let me double check. There's my lab 5. It's good to go. That's great. So the content is there. I'll check my activities in the Dropbox. Yeah, my profile lines is there. Yeah, looks good. So all the dates, everything about it is good. So it's exactly the same date I had set in the other course, which is nice about, I guess the one nice thing about the way it works is because the courses are separate, I can control the deadlines as things change. And in this case, weather, of course, causes my deadlines to change from class to class. I'll also check my groups. This is a group activity where they submit their results to me. There's lab 5. Lab 5, 9 groups. Nobody in the groups yet. And it's copied the groups, the activity, the content, all in one session. I just had to do a little bit of organizing with the content. I don't need to worry about that for my other elements. Hope that helps a little bit. If you ever want to stop by and ask some more questions about it, 3129, that's my office.